Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's Superman!
Howdy folks, and welcome back to yet another review. This time, we'll be traveling back to the 1940s and taking a look at a neat little cartoon called Superman. Which I guess was obvious since you already saw the title and thumbnail for the video. Anyways, you might be wondering, why am I reviewing the original Superman cartoon? And to put it simply, it's because I wanted to do something special to help commemorate the release of the upcoming James Gunn Superman movie. I figured, what better way than to start at the beginning with the granddaddy of all Superman animated media? So without further ado, let's get a bit into the background, shall we? In the year 1940, Paramount Pictures would approach an animation studio known as Fleischer Studios and ask them to create an animated series of shorts based on the popular comic book character Superman. The two brothers who ran the studio, Max and Dave Fleischer, had difficulties in taking on more work as they were already working on a new animated feature at that time. Dave was especially apprehensive about doing so, although I imagine it would be very hard to say no to Paramount Pictures as they were the majority owner of Fleischer Studios. In an effort to dissuade Paramount, they had given the studio a ridiculously large at the time price estimation for what such a series would cost. At the time, they had given the show a price tag of around $100,000 per short, which was astronomical at the time. Instead of giving up on the idea, Paramount decided to negotiate with the studio instead, knocking down the total price of the episodes to $50,000 for the first short and $30,000 for each of the other shorts. On September 26, 1941, the animated series premiered. It was so successful that it was even nominated for an Academy Award, which it unfortunately lost to Disney. Towards the end of 1941, cracks were beginning to show at Fleischer Studios as the two brothers ran into disagreements, with the duo eventually splitting and being removed from the studio entirely. Fleischer Studios would then be renamed to Famous Studios, with an entirely new group of folks in charge of the production of the shorts. These new shorts, while stylistically similar to what was made by Fleischer Studios, contained more World War II propaganda. And yes, this includes unfortunate racism towards Germans, Japanese, and folks down in Africa. Because of course it did. In total, there were 17 Superman animated shorts that were made between 1941 and 1943. Reasons for ending the show ranged from budgetary concerns to the waning interest of the public in the character of Superman. Later on, the shorts would fall into the public domain, meaning I can make a review over it without my video immediately being blocked by YouTube. Now ain't life just swell? It should be noted that while the series is in the public domain, you cannot make any money off of the series through merchandising. That's because Warner Bros. Still owns the rights to it in that regard. With all that said, what exactly is Superman all about? To put it simply, a young child from the doomed planet of Krypton is sent away on a rocket ship before his home explodes. The rocket crash lands on Earth, where the child is found and raised in an orphanage until he is old enough to leave. Growing up, he discovers that he has incredible abilities, and decides to become a superhero known as Superman. Of course, he needs to keep his abilities a secret, so he adopts the identity of Clark Kent, a mild-mannered reporter who often works with a woman named Lois Lane, who is always determined to get her story, even if it risks her own life. In each of the shorts, the duo faces different threats, from natural disasters like a volcano erupting to giant lizards causing havoc, to the very real dangers of World War II. Superman and Lois faced them all. Now, personally speaking, I think the stories of these shorts are serviceable, but there's nothing here that will really blow your mind. Each episode is around 8 to 10 minutes long, so everything needs to be concise enough to tell you what is going on in that short amount of time. However, it is interesting to watch it just to see what 1940s folks had for ideas regarding science fiction. I think my two favorites were the first episode with the giant laser cannon and the episode with the thawed-out giant dinosaur. In fact, I'm pretty sure that giant dinosaur episode was probably one of the many inspirations for Godzilla. Up next, we have the characters and voice acting. For these shorts, Superman was voiced by Bud Collyer, and Lois Lane was voiced by Joanne Alexander. As far as Supermen go, the one in this series is pretty decent. He always shows up at the right time to save the day, and Lois Lane. I have few complaints, except that we really don't hear him speak much, which I guess fits with his more mild-mannered personality. As for Lois Lane, we hear her plenty as she always tries to steal the scoop out from under Clark. As far as Lois Lanes go, she isn't my favorite. There are times where she seems rather mean-spirited towards Clark, going so far as to steal his press pass so that she can have a scoop all to herself. But at the same time, it is neat to see a female character be more proactive in these old cartoon shorts. I mean, sure, at the end of the day, she always gets kidnapped, but at least she has some gumption. As for the voice acting quality in these shorts, I'd say they are all over the place. Sometimes the audio balance is fine, other times things get real quiet or even become distorted. It's a shame Warner Bros. Never took the time to try to fix these audio mistakes, seeing as to how they own the original film reels and all, but maybe they're too old to be fixed. I'm not really sure what all goes into film preservation. But overall, voice acting is also just decent in these shorts. Not the end-all be-all, but for the first ever Superman cartoon, I think they worked for what was needed. Now, for the animation on the other hand, oh boy, this here is the real star of the show. Everything is so fluidly animated and lifelike, probably because Fleischer Studios invented the concept of rotoscoping itself. Which, for those that don't know, rotoscoping is the animation process in which animators will trace over actual footage of people to get realistic movement. The thing about rotoscoping is that it is a time-eating endeavor. It must have taken hours just to get a part of a fraction of movement done in an animation. Not to mention how realistic everything looks in the cartoon. I can see why the Fleischer brothers were apprehensive about tackling this series. But at the end of the day, I say it was worth it for what is some of the best animation to ever grace the golden age of cartoons. Finally, we have the music. Throughout this series, the music was composed by Sammy Timber, Winston Sharples, and Lou Fleischer, and it is a ton of fun. It is quintessentially Superman-esque, if that makes any sense. It's grand and adventurous orchestral music that elicits hope in the viewer that Superman will arrive to save the day. So overall, would I recommend the original animated Superman shorts? I would say partially. I think they are beautifully animated pieces of history, but they come from a time that was different from our standards of today. I can't in good conscience recommend that you sit down and watch all of the episodes in a row, as you'll end up towards the end seeing some very offensive episodes. It's important to keep in mind from a historical context that these shorts were made in a much more different time. I'm not saying that offending episodes should be destroyed or anything like that. Just that you should probably exercise caution if you're going into these and do not wish to see such offensive content. My best recommendation would be seeing it one episode at a time in order and skipping over the episodes that contain offensive content if you feel that you may not be able to watch them. I know I'm harping on this aspect a lot when it comes down to like 4 episodes out of 17, but seeing them was enough to spoil my mood a bit. Still, there's around 13 good episodes there that are worth watching, especially if you need a warm-up for July 11th with the new film coming out. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Apologies for being gone for a while. I've been busy working on this and a few other Superman-related scripts. If you like this video, please feel free to hit the like button. And if you really like this video, please feel free to subscribe. It really does help me out. With all that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day.